welcome to the Peppermint Apes podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how can you juggle family life and a busy career around the band. We will discuss. Guys, so this is our first podcast we've ever done on Zoom. So we're going to give it a little test tonight, see what it's like. But how you boys been? Been okay?
Yeah, all good.
All good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah,
all's
surviving.
well.
We know, Chris, you've had some Wi-Fi issues tonight, so you might disappear every now and again, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, the internet, my internet's got COVID, so yeah, it's just slow.
So obviously the topic of this podcast really, boys, is, family life, a busy career around a band. And I think unless you're signed or, the music is your full-time job, every band kind of has this struggle. And if anything, this can be a big reason why a lot of bands split up or why people have to leave the band because of the pressures of the outside world. So before we get to the heart of the topic, I think we'll have a little chat, first of all about our situation. So I live with my girlfriend, got no kids at the moment, and I've got a career. I'm an estate agent. That keeps me busy. What about you, Lewis? What do you do?
I work in IT. I'm married. Live with the wife. So a nice, happy, healthy, stable personal life.
Yeah, and you got a baby due this year.
Just around 2 months, about 8 weeks left. So another big life event is due. So it's all exciting. It's all good.
Chris?
I am currently furloughed up until the end of July, and then I'm unemployed unless I get another job. So band is my priority. Obviously, I live with my fiance as well, so she's a priority over the band. But
well played, Chris. He knows.
like that, a little bit of a shush there. No, so that's my situation.
Fantastic. Sam?
Working in a sort of IT, home installs for smart homes and things like that. Got a nearly 2-year-old little boy, and just busy all the time.
Good. So over the years, I think, where the Peppermint Apes has been concerned, there's been a few different lineup changes because people have had to leave because they couldn't commit to, the fact that they've had a full-time job. Maybe you get pressures from girlfriends, etc. Have you guys ever experienced that in the past? Pressure from, maybe previous girlfriends? Or what's your feelings on that? I'll start with you, Lewis.
Yeah, thankfully I'm really lucky. I've never had that problem. So I'm probably one of the few that never has. So I'm probably not the best person to offer some insight on that. But I'm really fortunate. I've never ever had that problem, which is a really nice thing to say. For me, I think if any pressures, and obviously I'm sure we'll delve into this later, but it's just more sort of circumstance, where you're at in your life and things like that, and balancing where you want to go and where you are and the best way to it, to your destination, so to speak. So I can't really delve too much into that one. I don't know if you guys can anymore, but I'm probably not the best person to ask.
Well, I'll just say from my experience really over the years, I've had a few different relationships, that have not worked, unfortunately, in the end. And I think the Apes, especially when we were very busy, when we were pushing for the record label, you do naturally get pressure. And sometimes it's understandable. People want to see you, they want to have all your attention. But when you're a full-time musician, you just physically can't give them all the attention. But now, obviously, the band is different. We always say, work and family comes first. But I can imagine for loads of bands, it can be tricky, and it's not because girlfriends or boyfriends, depending on, who's in the band, etc., are, a threat or they don't want you to follow your passion. But it's just trying to find that fine balance, really. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm the same as Lewis, really. Not really had any kind of pressure. If anything, I've only ever had like support and things like that. So yeah, I'm not really one to delve too much into that one either.
Yeah. Also, what about you, Chris?
Well,
funny you should ask. I've got to quit.
Oh, I got a rant coming. Yeah.
Where's that from? You know?
I think Chris won't have a fiance after this goes out.
No, to be fair, it's normal pressures. It's just like, what when you're going to spend time. You just got to, like Lewis and and Sam said, you just got to find the balance. Really, is and once you find that balance, it's there's no problems at all. I just think if you can't put 100% of your time into one thing because everything else starts to fall apart. So, I mean, like, for example, if I put everything into the band, I mean, like, or in a band, it would just, I wouldn't have a relationship. I mean, I'd probably still have a career because you do that in the day, don't you? So, but, I definitely wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have that balance. So, yeah, and I don't really get any pressures.
Cool.
Previous relationships, I would say, yeah, definitely. I've basically fallen out and had breakups over bands and stuff in the past, and the band suffered as well. And I've had to leave bands for that pressures and not having my priorities sorted out. But yeah,
I think really that's a good point there, Chris. I think if you are a musician and you're in a new relationship, I think it's also important for you as a musician to kind of sit down and not lay the law, but just explain what you do, because it's important to get that support. It's important that you compromise as well, but it depends what you want out of a band as well. If you really want it to be your career, if you really are young, I'm not saying there should be an age limit. There's people in their 50s that get record deals and they're doing really well, but if you're 18 to the age of 25 and do you really want to push for aim for the stars kind of thing, you've just got to decide really, should you be in a relationship at that point? Because your band should be your relationship. That should be your everything. And if you do get with someone, you've got to be prepared to compromise, but they've got to be prepared to understand and in a way be second best. But with the view that if you do make it, you're going to have more time for that person in the future. I just think it depends on what band you're in. If you're like us, where you are still pushing your originals, you want to give it everything, but you're more of a covers band as well, playing good gigs, I think you can be a bit more free and you can balance everything up. But it just depends. But I think it's vital to have that conversation in the early days. If you've been married for 20 years and all of a sudden you want to join a band, then you just have to, there's no argument then, is there?
Not really. But I sort of think as well, in this day and age with technology and things, it's a lot easier than it was, say, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, maybe. Because it would have been, you'd have had rehearsals, and especially if you was going out on tour, for example, and you wouldn't have been able to have the communication that we have these days, would you? You wouldn't be able to phone up your other half every night or FaceTime them or, talk to them and stuff. You'd just be like, you'd have to go to the nearest town, find a payphone and have a 5-minute conversation, and while you're around the world. Do you know what I mean?
So but another thing also is a lot of band meetings probably took place in pubs and things like that. And if you spend too much time in the boozer, of course, you have a half male, or even if it's a female, a female front woman or whoever, instrumentalist, whatever, it works both ways. Exactly. So a lot of meetings probably would have been in the pub, and I think partners could probably be put out for that. So we could probably find ourselves quite lucky the fact we live in such a technological era when we can do things like this and just meet on Skype and Zoom, etc., FaceTiming, and have to leave comfort of our home.
Yeah, I think off the back of that, just to interject, like, I think you guys actually make a really good point. Like, I'm really interested to see. You've obviously all alluded to technology and things, and obviously, like I said to you guys before, I've sort of got into a little bit more electronic production and things like that. I found that really interesting, learning how to do that. But the one thing that I've been amazed at with the technology there is the things that you're able to do now with zero musical knowledge. You don't need to know chords, you don't need to know theory, you don't need to know what notes. And it's like, I mean, we can only speak from experience from our perspective, but obviously growing up and spending, hundreds of hours at home learning your instrument and your craft and learning the songs. And we sort of come from like an early version of the YouTube generation where we could start learning guitar or bass or vocals or drums on the internet as well. We had a different sort of access than a teacher. but and we've said like in some of our other podcasts that hip hop is now, and like more R&B and those kind of genres have tended started to take over popularity and things. So I imagine that the next generation of musicians are going to be more focused on being producers, like beat makers, producers, engineers, things like that, and the fact that you can do it at home. I mean, like, for example, there's a couple of bits of technology, like one is Scalar. It's about 40 quid, and it will work out chord progressions for you, what notes you can use. And when you write them in the MIDI, like, so for example, for anyone that does or doesn't know, you say, for example, you have a piece of music recording software, you can essentially click some buttons to make the notes that you hear. So like, some piano notes, some violins, etc. But what you can do is you can change the setting so that essentially on a screen it will highlight in sort of lines, say for example the white colors, these are the notes you can use for this chord progression you've got. So you can literally use a bit of software and say, oh, click a couple of buttons, you go, that sounds really cool. You can paste that on, and you can then just change the settings so it say, right, this note, this note, this note, this note will work. And you can click around in weird orders and you'll just hear the end result. And it's unbelievable. Like, and
again, but coming off the back of that, but what you just said there, Lou, it's not even electronic music. You get the Fender app now, can't you, where it teaches you guitar. You got the piano as well, where it teaches you piano and stuff. So even learning real instruments is like that as well.
That's a good point.
And also another point to add to that as well, which again with being you can be at home and do it all. So like for example, I've experienced in lockdown when we've done our recording for the covers we've done on YouTube and stuff. I mean, I bought a reasonably priced audio interface. I've got all the guitar, I've got a laptop with the plug-in on there and everything like that, and away you go, you're recording guitar. And to a quite, with Reaper and everything, or if you've got Logic or something, and you're already recording it to quite a good quality, and if you've got somebody like yourself, Sam, who knows how to mix and master, or in the band, or you can all send your parts over, and you can get a reasonably good demo done. And can you imagine that sort of 30 years ago? You'd have had to go to a recording studio, you'd have had to pay out a lot more money, you'd have had to wait for it all to be done, and then you'd have, do you know what I mean? So,
so and then bringing it back to the topic of the podcast, you'd be away from home.
Exactly.
Right? So and then you'd be away from your partner and things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And on that, so you made a good point there, guys. So technology has certainly improved and given us more flexibility to be creative and still have more time with your family. So I think we're in a different era now, which is good. But I suppose if you're a younger band, trying to get that record deal, going on tour, now we've got, obviously we can adapt with technology, but if you are young and you are pushing for that dream, what do you guys think? I know it's a bit of a sensitive question, but do you think if you're at that age and you've got that motive, that's your career, you want to be the next Foo Fighters, for example, is it a good idea to be in a relationship? Can it work? Are you, what's your opinion to young musicians who might be 18, that they've got the talent, they've just been spotted by a management agency, but they also like some girls, or that they want to get in a relationship like their friends? What's your advice to that young 18-year-old who's on the up?
Have a laugh. Don't take life too seriously, basically. Let's face it, you're 18 years old. I mean, you might have a girlfriend at the time, or boyfriend or whatever, but that relationship's not going to go on forever. And if it does, amazing. It does happen, but on a rarity, it does. At that time, if you've got an opportunity, you're in a band, and you've got an opportunity to make it, do it. Like, you're 18 years old, the world's your oyster. That's my opinion anyway. Obviously, if you're like 35, married with kids, a bit different. But I think do you know what I mean? If you're that age, why not?
Yeah.
What about you, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I mean, we were in that situation. We were 18 and doing well. I think it's the good thing is when you're sort of you're sort of late teens, very early 20s and things, everything is still up in the air for you. So you've got a lot of choice. So you've got time to make mistakes. You've got time to sort of figure things out for yourself. And if your band is your priority and it's what you really want to do, then absolutely go for it. Because as life moves on, you know, and you get more pressures and you get, you know, bills to come in and things that you want to achieve. You might meet your partner at a certain time and you think, right, well, I want to get a house or something. You know, your goals will shift in life, and obviously what you're trying to do to achieve it will have to move with it. So if you've got the time and the energy to give it everything that you've got at a young age when you don't have loads of commitments and things, then by all means, absolutely do it. I just think the thing is, when you're still relatively young, you know, you're still getting life experience and things, you kind of, what you think you want will change as well during that time. So, you know, the dream might be to be a super successful musician. In that case, yeah, pursue it with everything you've got. But you might find 3-4 years down the line, well, you know, I've met someone that I really like, and now I want to, you sort of pursue a different thing, but I still want to be in my band. You know, so it's kind of just go with the flow. You know, everything, you know, life moves so quickly nowadays, and things will change for people. So I would say just, it's really down to what Chris said, just go with the flow, see where you end up, give it your all while you can, you know, and it's important to have supportive people around you as well for that. You know, if you've got really supportive parents who are going to be like, right, well, I'm going to drive you to your rehearsal, I'm going to take you to your thing, or you might think, well, I want to drive and get my own car and enable me to do these things. You know, use it as some inspiration as well. If you want to play these amazing venues, you want to, you know, have the money to make your own recordings at home. You know, it's kind of, it's always, there's a moving goalpost, but if you give it your all and just go with the flow, you know, it's you can't ever turn around and say you never gave it everything that you had to get what you wanted.
So your view is give it your all for music, but go with the flow, you know, regards to relationships.
Well, not just relationships, the whole thing. You know, I wouldn't say prioritize one or the other. It's what comes natural to you. There's so many variables. You know, don't prioritize one thing to the detriment of your partner. You know, just go with the whole situation. You know, if you'll see what will become your main focus. It's not fair to put your band, if that's your dream, to the back burner for the sake of one person, but it's not fair that your partner should suffer, you know, for the sake of what you want to do. You know what I mean? There's a balance. You've got to be able to do what you're passionate about and what you love, and also have time to nurture the things that are really important in your life, because your band might go tits up, but your partner might still be there for you.
Yeah. Which is very likely at 18, let's face it.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Well, personally, I kind of look at it from a different perspective, because I settled down quite early in my life. Me and Steph got a house when we was like 18. So my priorities kind of changed when I was quite young. But before that, I mean, yeah, before we lived together and things, we'd only really see each other on like weekends and things like that, you know, because living in like home and things like that. So I put my all into bands and stuff, and Steph would always support me as well personally. She'd go to all my gigs and all that. She'd always like find venues to play at and things like that. And then when we settled down, I then had to change my priorities a bit, as you do. So I, you know, bills to pay, rent to pay, things to do, and then I'd try and find a career pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, if you're kind of like me and you settle down early, there you need to try and find your career first, and then it kind of is band kind of second for me. But before I did settle down, yeah, I was giving it my all the time, giving it my absolute all. But coming to the present day is you kind of just find any time you can to do the band stuff, but then also it's the balance. It all comes back to a balance, doesn't it? It all really comes back to a balance.
Good point.
And communication as well.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it depends what your goal is. I think if you're 18 years of age, you're single, you know, and you've clearly got the talent that you could go places, you're only going to get that time once. Don't get me wrong. Another podcast will talk about, does age matter in music? I don't think it does. I think you've always got an opportunity now, but I think the difference.
Just a number.
It's just a number, boy. But
Yeah.
when you're between sort of the ages of say 28, 21, maybe 25, you've got a lot less responsibility. You know, there's a good chance you're not going to, you know, have a mortgage or anything like that. So I think if you're in a position where that's your dream, you really want to be a musician and you've got a chance, might be a bit blunt to say this, unless you really know someone from school and you really love that person, that's different. But I think stay away from relationships, full stop. I think give everything to that band, because unfortunately you're not going to be able to give everything to that other person. They're going to feel that they're second best. It's not fair on them. And equally, you're probably going to miss out on opportunities with the band because you're going to compromise too much to make sure that you don't miss out on your partner. And then you might split up with that person. And yeah, you're right, guys. The band might not work anyway, but you're always going to hold that resentment thinking, oh, what if I, between the ages of 18 and 21, what if I just gave it my all? Because you'll never get those years back. So, and you'll have the rest of your life. Let's be honest, guys. I didn't meet my, partner, Chris. You're 26, aren't you? You bet at 24 when you was with Lucy, kind of thing. You've got all your years to meet someone. So I just say, prioritize the band, have a backup. I always think people should go to college and have a backup if it doesn't go to plan. But it depends what you want. If you're 18 to 21 and you just want to be in a covers band, then I think it's a different kind of ballpark.
Yeah.
But that's my view on it.
I just say, not unfortunately though, I don't mean to diss anyone, but when I was 18, I didn't have any ambition. I just wanted to, play my guitar in a band, and I didn't really I didn't have a plan or anything like that. I wasn't mature enough to understand the compromise and prioritising situation. It was just like, I want to do that. I want to have fun. I want to do this. I don't want to do all that shit. And then I'd have an argument with the person I was at the time about it, and it was just like, I just, and that person was older than me as well, which didn't help for me. I just think, but then I suppose if you're, like you said, Ryan, about if you meet someone from school and you really, really like them, but then your band's going well, and you feel like, if I don't put 110% in the band, then that's going to fall back, but then that relationship will suffer. But then you might have the same regrets. Oh, that relationship really could have gone somewhere. 10 years down the line, you're miserable in a band that's not going anywhere now, and then you think, fuck, why didn't I put more effort into that relationship? So it could go either way, really.
Yeah, I was the other way around. I had a really supportive, now a wife, but I had a really supportive girlfriend. It was always the bands that fell apart with me. Yeah. So I think that's why Steph was so supportive, because it was all falling apart around me for me.
So I suppose, guys, after that, I think we can all agree that there's not really a right or a wrong answer for that topic, really, is there, when it comes to girlfriend?
No.
But just gauge where you are and you'll make the right decision. But also careers then. So, a lot of us have jobs and around the bands, but we've all now got careers. And I always say the way we are now as the Peppermint Apes, we say girlfriends, wives, careers come first, because let's be honest, unless you're doing the music as a full-time income, that's what puts food on the table. So first of all, before we get into it, we all gave each other a bit of a briefing into what we do. But Lewis, you work in IT. Do you want to sort of give because we talk about what we do as musicians, we don't necessarily tell the world about what we do behind the scenes, what we do for our day job. So Lewis, do you want to give people a bit of a briefing in terms of what you do first?
Yeah, sure. So I work in the IT industry. So for me, it's primarily IT as a function is primarily a support function. So it's basically ensuring the company and all the employees can do everything they need to do. So we make sure all of the equipment's functioning, all of the servers and business operations are doing what they should be doing. Essentially ensuring that the firm can make money, really. And I've always been good at computers and things like that. And it was something I was always interested in, and it was kind of pot luck that a really good job opportunity came up in London, and I sort of thought, again, I was quite a fearless sort of late teens, early 20s kind of person, because I was very much of the mindset of, well, what have I got to lose by giving a CV in, And fortunately, I handed my CV into a role for a financial services company, a trading company, and I sent that in, and I essentially got an interview, went there, aced it, and got given a really good opportunity, which I've always been really grateful for. And the rest is history, as they say. You know, I was given a good chance, and then I've just taken every opportunity I can get. I've worked really, really hard to be successful, you know, to sort of be able to provide the life that I want for myself and my family. And yeah, I'm one of the, thankfully I'm in a position where I can say it's worked out really well. But before that, I had lots of different jobs. You know, I worked in like domestic cleaning jobs. I worked in retail. I worked in lots of sort of different sectors, and until I sort of found something that really clicked. And as soon as I got into this industry, I just absolutely fell in love with it. I loved everything about it. I loved the day to day, you know, how different it is, the technologies you get to work with. Yeah, and it just really worked well for me. I sort of fell in love with it, and yeah, it's you know, for my career, it's worked out really well, and I've worked hard at it, and I'm really grateful.
Good man. Yeah, you've done really well, mate. You should be proud of yourself. I remember when you started, and you know, you've certainly worked up the ranks and studied, and you know, and with the Apes as well. I mean, we were doing loads of gigs, etc., and you were still progressing with your career. So full marks to you, mate. And would you say you work a lot of hours now in terms of what's your sort of hour? How many hours do you work a week? Would you say on average?
It's a normal 40-hour work week. So
Yeah.
obviously it's dependent on kind of, you know, what scenarios get thrown at you. You know, if something stops working, then obviously there'll be more hours. But I mean, the good thing is when you work from home, as we all are, obviously during the lockdown at the moment, the sort of nice thing is that you know, you're in the comfort of your own home if you have to stay a bit longer to fix things or to help people and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have to do any 80-hour work weeks, or never get to see my family, or never get the opportunity to do other things that I enjoy. And so yeah, it's for me, it's pretty much normal, you know, almost 9 to 5:30 kind of hours. So obviously there's a little bit of variance in that, but yeah.
Good man. So Chris, I know obviously you're furlough, and you mentioned earlier obviously that you're going to be looking for a new job, etc. But tell us a little bit about your background.
So basically, I work. Well, I've worked for lots of different companies. I'm basically I draw. That's my job. I draw on computers, so I use AutoCAD as a software. Another software called SolidWorks. I draw 3D, 2D stuff. Most of the time, it's 2D drawings, and it can be anything really. I mean, I was working for an architecture practice. They're the company that are furloughing me at the moment, and that was drawing like floor plans, sections, and for like, you know, all the new building sites that are going up around the area and stuff. So drawing all the houses on that. Yeah, and before that, I was working for another company where we used to draw evacuation systems for aircrafts. You know, like the inflatable slides that come out the side in a crash. I used to draw those. So design those, draw them, get them into manufacture, oversee them in manufacture, and make sure, you know, just basically sort of overseeing everything like that. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I mean, from a young age, I was always into art and drawing. I used to play, do you remember that computer game Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play that, and my mum and dad said to me, "Oh, that's why you're into all this computer design stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe." But I still want to design a theme park one day.
One
Don't
day.
even like them. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it really. Drawing for a living. That's basically it.
Good man. Good man. So quite artistic. So what about you, Sam?
Oh God, where do I start? So
you're like old before your years, didn't you?
I am. I creep when I get up. No, so with my job, I kind of wear like 20 hats for my job. So I was employed as an engineer, but over the years I've kind of progressed into IT, networking, programming, things like that. So I work for a home cinema and smart home company. So install, you know, luxury cinemas in people's homes, and lighting systems, control systems, Wi-Fi networks, and all that kind of stuff that you can control from your phone and control from an interface and things like that. But as I've gone more into, I used to install it all, and I still do now and then, but I used to install it, but now I'm more project managing jobs and oversee jobs as well as designing the networks that go into the homes, because more and more homes are becoming more and more complicated now with stuff on the networks, and things got to be secure and working properly. So I do a lot of that now. So yeah, and I do all like the rack building and things like that. So people have got these server rooms in their houses. I build the racks that go in there and wire them all up and stuff, and commission them, get them all working, transport them to site, install them. So that's kind of where I'm at. And at the moment, I'm taking a really big, keen interest in cybersecurity. So Lewis has been sorting me out with loads of courses and stuff, which is what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm learning like ethical hacking at the moment, pen testing, so I can find vulnerabilities within a system and stuff like that. Mainly, it is going to be for ethical reasons, not for illicit reasons. So
stealing your neighbour's Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, but this is mainly so I can show, because my company are now starting to sell these really high-end firewalls, and we need to. They're a lot of money. They're like $5,000. So I need to try and prove to the customer why they need one. So if I can learn how to hack their system and say, look, with this firewall, you can probably defend against this, then at least I can show them the vulnerabilities on their system. But pre this job, I used to have a few careers. I actually started out as a carer. I was a carer for special needs children. So I worked in a school. I worked one-to-one with a boy as well for 3 years, and they were good jobs. But it was a good job, but the wage in the care industry is pretty shocking. And I was trying to settle down, and support my wife. Now my wife supports Steph and stuff like that, and it just wasn't working out. So then I got a job at Rayleigh Hi-Fi, and that's where I started getting into the smart home kind of stuff and progressed from there. Really, so 5 years later, here I am at where I am now, and loving it at the moment.
Good man. So yeah, you've done well, worked for the ranks and progressed, and you're always learning new things. So top man. So
How about you, mate?
Yeah, so with myself, I mean, when the Apes kind of started, I was always doing the odd jobs. I was working for Curry's on the weekends, worked for my uncle here and there. Like he owns a taxi firm in Basildon, so I used to work in the office, taking the calls. Wasn't very good at it. I used to send people to the wrong addresses and stuff.
Kept that quiet.
What you want to? What's that? You want to go to Tesco in London? Yep, it's on the way to Pitsy now. No wonder I got the sack. No, but I really kind of, when the Apes took a bit of a break, I thought I need to get a bit of a career here, because I gave the Apes everything. We went to America, the record labels. It was a career to me, and and to you, Lou, at one point when you was part of that. And I think, Sam, you experienced a bit of the career-esque of the Apes. And Chris, I think what the plan is in the future, we're going to bring it back, but it's a different sort of version now. But when I kind of started the career thing, I became an estate agent, because I always enjoyed customer service. I did enjoy sales in terms of selling what people want, not being trying to call people up and sell them something they don't need. But I just fell into a estate agency, started as a trainee on very low wages kind of thing, and became good at it, by mistake. Just kept wanted to learn, loved it. They always say after 6 months, if it's make or break, and I nearly gave up after 6 months, but I kept going. And then after a while, I managed to progress to valuer, an area valuer, and became eventually manager. So now I kind of work. I've got flexible hours. I think the hours I used to work was ridiculous. So I was, doing 80, 90 hours weeks, but still finding time for the band and other things. It was almost like burning out. But now I still put the hours in. I love estate agency, and I will work late at night and take calls here and there. But it's a little bit more flexible because I can work from home. I think with what's happened obviously with the world with COVID-19, I think a lot of businesses have adapted to people working at home. So that's what I do now. But
that just sums you up, though, mate, doesn't it? Because you said a minute ago that you really pushed. Say, so after 6 months, it makes or breaks you. You cracked on. It kind of sums up your attitude to the band as well. You just kept going, cracking on, not letting it get you down. It's a good moral to have. It's really good.
Yeah, cheers, man. And I'd say that to anyone who checks out this podcast, really, because I think with our podcast, yes, we do talk about things that excite us, if you like, but we like to inspire other people. And I think, don't get me wrong, if you really hate something, because you've got to try these things out. If you don't like it, I don't think you should just soldier on and do it. If it's not for you, there's no shame in giving up, and even if that is music. But nothing's easy. nothing's easy, and I think you've just got to keep going. And eventually, as long as you've got work ethic, whether it's music, even if it's relationships, anything, as long as you're committed, I think everything will pay off in the end. And I think all of you guys combined, I mean, that's why you're all in the Apes, not just because you're great musicians, but because you've all got the work ethic, and I think that's what you need. So
I was just going to jump off the back of that, Ryan. I was interested because obviously the topic of this podcast is managing things and, ideas as a career. And obviously, like Sam said, it's a really big testament to, your tenacity, obviously starting off the band so young and it kind of skyrocketing, into like this area where it's really unheard of for youngsters, really, especially from our area, to be on like this sort of trajectory of success that you were having. And obviously in all through lineup changes and things, you've never given up, you've always given it everything. And so I guess my question is, we're talking about earlier about like, what's your advice to young musicians and things like that? From someone that's been there, done that, you started young, you gave it everything, like you said, you've had some tough times in relationships where it's hard to manage the two, and then you still keep going into where you are now, and you've made a success of your career. I feel like you're more qualified to give an answer to that question. And what advice should a young musician get? I mean, would you say it's all been worth it? Would you do anything different? What if you could tell your 17-year-old self, Ryan Stanton, at the start when the band was about to go to America and do the EPs and work with the management, what would you say to yourself then? Would you tell yourself to do things different or?
Yeah, good question. There are things I would do differently. And I think the key thing is don't be too big-headed, because, and I hold my hands up when let's be honest, when you're 19 years of age, I always said to my dad, because he was always the guy, that's why I became a musician, because I always saw him in good bands. He was in the T-Rex tribute band 2Rex, they'd play the Butlin circuits. He played in Hedgehog, he played in country bands, and although he was never famous, but he played really good venues and stuff. So I think I was quite fortunate, very lucky to have a dad that was, okay, you can do this, and all my friends were going to uni. I could have gone to uni, but I sat down with my dad and I said, look, I'm not going to go uni, because he knew that I was, at the time at college, I was studying video editing. And that's probably the career I could have pursued. I could have probably been a good video editor. I'm nowhere near good enough now because I'm so behind the curve, because you've really got to be on your game every year with technology and software changes. But my dad, I remember he sat me down and he said, right, if people check out our very first podcast, The History of the Peppermint Apes, you can find out more information about the early years, etc. But when I was at that crossroads where my old band, Covalent, split up and I was about to do that Towngate Theatre show, which I mentioned in that podcast, my dad sat me down and said, you've got something, Ryan. You've got really good songs, but I want to manage you. But if we do this, we've got to give it 100%, and you've got to take my lead. And I trusted him. And yeah, I think my advice to people would be, number one, believe in yourself. Always have a backup. I think you should. I will say that to kids. Do go to college and make sure you've got a plan B. Because if it doesn't work out, I know I sound like an old man now, but if it doesn't work out, you want to have something to fall back on. But at the end of the day, you're only 18 once. You're only 21 once. So give it your all. Give it your all. And yeah, have works. And it's going to be tough, because you're going to be probably living with your parents for a long time. You're going to have weekend jobs, and you're going to have loads of rejection. You're going to have band members that don't have your work ethic and leave, and deflation. You're going to be going places and people leave, and it's like snakes and ladders. And it was for the early years with the Apes. We were going up and up and up, and then all of a sudden you're going down again. Don't give up is what I would say, but be smart. But when I say about getting back to my point about being big-headed, so when I was not, you think most people, they play band nights and then eventually they progress or they might get noticed, and you know, you're a bit more grounded because it's taken years to make it. I was 19 years of age, and within 6 months of the Peppermint Apes being formed, we're about to tour America. You know, we're about to go on Fox TV. We've got Radio 2 that want to speak to us. We've got all these things, and I was quite ignorant because I probably thought it was all too easy. You know, I kind of thought that this is it now. This is, you know, I haven't got a number one yet, but it's gonna happen. And when I was talking to people would ask me, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "Well, you know, I'm in the Peppermint Apes." But you're 19 years of age. You're not expected to get that success so quickly, are you? So I think I was a little bit big-headed, and I think that was one of my failings looking back on it. Is maybe even with you guys, Lewis.
Do you know what, right? Sorry to butt in there, but Lewis will probably back me on this one. When I was learning to play drums, I had the biggest head in school. I really did. And Lewis will also, he'll approve that, because I don't know I think I picked up drums relatively easy. I found it really easy to learn, and others were around me who kind of struggled, and I was thinking, why are you struggling? It's really easy. And then I ended up going around school like saying I was the best drummer in the year and things like that. And looking back at it now, okay, yeah, I probably sound a bit like an arsehole, but you know, you're not going to progress any better if you don't believe in yourself. And Lewis even says that to me now, though. He said, well, if you don't believe in yourself, what's the point? And I think that was the thing. A lot of people didn't believe in themselves, therefore struggle. Because you'd hear them playing their bands, and from a drumming point of view, they just didn't have any, they just didn't put their heart into it. You could just see that they didn't put their heart into it. They kind of just learned it for the sake of it. There was a couple of other drummers in the school who were really good, who put their all into it, but there was something. What's the point? Go and learn the cello or something, you know. That's just how I was, and I lost a lot of friends over it as well. Being so big-headed. But looking back at now, okay, yeah, I didn't ask, but I don't really care. I mean, I had the heart. I had the heart with it.
It's a balance. I think if looking back on it, what would I change? I think, like you just said, I think with me, I was probably a bit too big-headed in the sense where when I was talking to friends and stuff, maybe I was talking without unintentionally, I was probably talking
in third person.
Yeah, maybe I was talking as if somebody made it. But at the end of the day, you need a bit of an ego and you need self-belief. So never ever lose that. Never let anyone.
When Ryan makes it, Ryan's going to be really happy.
Yeah, you're going to wish you've got that signed T-shirt.
No, I think the biggest advice I can give to people though is believe in yourself. Don't worry about that. Be confident. People will try and knock you down because they're jealous. So be it.
Yeah.
But at the same
very good point.
But at the same time, you still got to be humble with people, because if you don't make it, you need those people on the way down.
You've hit the nail on the head there, though, right? You hit the nail on the head because if you, it's like people are going to be jealous if you picked up an instrument relatively quickly and you're good at it and you're playing in 4 or 5 bands. Because when you're 15, 16, I was playing in 5 bands at the time. People do get jealous and they start like putting you down and things like that. And you've got to have the resilience, I think, is the word. Lewis is a very humble chap. Lewis, you're very humble. I wasn't so humble back then. I was like, I'm in 5 bands. That makes me amazing. But but I do think people were just jealous, and then that's when you start losing friends, because it's just over jealousy, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. The thing is, you've all made some really good points on that. That's the thing. Like, name one kid who's good at something that you've seen someone tell them they're shit. You know, if you've got a kid who's amazing at FIFA or a video game, no one's telling them, oh, John is terrible. Or, you know, do you think anyone told the Jackson 5 that they were shit on the way up? Probably not. Or you know what I mean? Like, if you've got a family that are bringing you up, the point being, when you're a kid in school and, you know, you get a lot of confirmation bias because you're this shiny toy that can do something that no one else can do. And as adolescents, no one else has seen that, you know, and so all of a sudden you are being told you're the best thing since sliced bread, and you get notoriety and respect because of that. And that's what everyone wants in school, isn't it? When you're a when you're a young kid, you want to fit in, you want to, you know, have a place in it. And so I think
sorry, mate, go on. No, sorry.
No, go on, dude, it's fine.
I remember a specific point what you just said about like how people think you're amazing and stuff at school. I remember I think I was in about year 11, and there was three guys in my year that played guitar. There was me and there's 2 others, and those 2 other guys were in my form as well. So we were all really good mates too. So there was never any competition. Although people used to have banter of like, oh, Chris Jones is like the 3rd best in the year, and all this bollocks, you know.
Yeah.
Like this. And I remember we used to stay late at school sometimes, stay late for like 4:30, but and the music rooms. Yeah, you know, I'll stay late tonight, really till 4:15.
Pick me up late, mum.
I've had late attentions and that.
So they used to book the music rooms after school, and I was in there once, just jamming on my own, like you should do. And there was this group of year 9s playing, just fucking around in one of the other rooms. I think I played an AC/DC or something. It's like Let There Be Rock or something. And they came in and they were just like, "Oh my god!" They were like, "That is so sick, man! Like, this is so amazing! I can't believe you can play that." And I was like, "It's just a G and an E chord, mate." But you know, it was just like they were like fucking bum licking me, you know.
Yeah.
And
It is true though, isn't it? That's the thing. That's like that's what you want. And I think everyone's got like an example of something where it's ended up like that. And like, you know, that's why I don't ever blame a lot of celebrities and things, because like Ryan said, you know, you've got to have self-belief, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one will. And if you don't have any confidence, then no one else will believe in you either. So it is very true. And
it's definitely helpful, but
yeah, could you imagine
funny
that?
as well.
Yeah, could you imagine that though? If you didn't have the self-belief and you was cutting a promo and you was like, you know, you was being too humble and you was like, so I've got an album.
You can buy it, but if you don't want to, we're not going to blame you.
I've got an album coming out.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy it though, you know.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Barry Scott. You ain't got to get Philip Bang, but you know, if you feel like it.
You know what? You just need to believe in yourself, you know. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. But now we're certainly in an era where you do have to not necessarily show off, but you just need to get out there. You know, you need to put videos out. And I'm not being funny, but when we all started doing videos, you almost thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, because you feel like a bit of a knob, you know. But at the end of the day, if people think you're a knob, they think you're a knob anyway. Do you know what I mean? Just do it.
Well, do you know what, mate? It's really funny, because you know that the promo video we've just done. You know the promo video we just done for the weddings. Yeah. So I'm not great on camera as it is, but I recorded all my bits and then I showed it to Steph. She went, "You're a bit serious, aren't you?" So I had to go and redo my bits. And she went, "Have you actually done anything?" He sounds exactly the same. But I said to her, "Well, the thing is, Steph, it's not appealing to you. People who don't know me will just see it as a normal video, so I don't really care what you think." That's what I said. And she cracked up. She cracked up balance laughing. She really laughed.
And this goes back to the start of the podcast.
That balance.
Yeah. She's keeping you grounded.
But she really cracked up though. It was so funny. She went, "Did you actually do anything different?" I was like, "Yes."
She went, "Get back in there and do it again."
Just moving on though, guys. So we spoke about obviously girlfriend support and our careers, etc., and what we would do differently. But so for people that are married, are in a good relationship, people that maybe are busy in their careers, maybe they're managers, maybe they're starting their careers out and they're pushing that, but they want to do music. You know, maybe they're in a covers band, maybe they still want to put their originals out. Whatever it is, obviously career comes first, but they want to push their music. How do you spend time? How do you find time, I should say, to upload music like we do? How can you be regular on YouTube? Because I think, let's be honest, if you want to build your fan base, you've got to be consistent. But that doesn't mean to say that you have to burn out. It doesn't mean to say if you've got a 50, 60 hours a week job, it doesn't mean to say that you've then got to be, oh my God, we've got to do 3 or 4 videos a week. There is a sort of, you've got to be tactical. So Chris, what would your suggestion be to bands for people that are in bands that have these full-time careers, etc., but equally want to be consistent?
I'd say set one night a week where you say you're going to do it, just and be organised. You know, just I know it's going to be a bit like, you know, you get home from work after a long day and you just want to chill out, but you know, if you just chill out that night, then you're going, by the end of the day, you're exhausted, like I said. But you know, you've got to stick to it. If you're going to set yourself some time, do it. The more, also, one point I'd like to add, the more you do it, the quicker you get at it. So the less time it takes to do these videos. Like, I was starting off with the guitar cover videos, and I was doing like probably about 40 takes, and now about 5. Just from just being confident with the camera and just forgetting it's there, all of a sudden you just, the more you do it, the better you get it. Like with everything, really. But also, if you've got another half, or if you're, a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, just communicate. That is the best tool to use. Just say, look, Wednesday nights are the nights that I do my band stuff. That's what happens. Obviously, if something drastic changes, like she's in hospital or, something like that. Oh, band night, that's it. But
I'll pick you up after the surgery.
Pick you up at 11 when I finish rehearsal.
And do you mind having a guitar on you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be on your lap.
Yeah,
you can go in the back with my drum kit.
In the back of the ambulance. Sure, you can spin past Baz Studios, mate.
Try.
Need a petrol money.
This bloke's got room in the back there. Just move the gurney over.
Yeah. You're free on the 17th for a
gear in
gig. We can use your mother.
Yeah. Communicate, really. Yeah.
Communication.
The edge is only at the top of the multi-story.
Not that far, is it?
Yeah. What are you moaning about?
What about you, Sam?
So coming at it from a parent point of view, and I'm sure Lewis will probably agree with me in a few months' time once he is a proud father, is you kind of have a little bit, not free time, but you fall into a structure. Oscar's got quite a strict structure, so his bedtime's at 8 o'clock, and so when I get home from work until 8 o'clock, I usually, see to Oscar. Steph's doing dinner, so I try and occupy Oscar if he's not, climbing on an upper, trying to give her, like, get her to pick him up and stuff. And then I'll help get him to bed for 8 o'clock. And then after 8 o'clock, Steph does go to bed as well because he doesn't sleep at the moment. Steph needs to go to bed as well because she's so tired. So I then find the time for the band or training, things like that. And to be honest with you, quite lately, I'm quite sick of how fast the days are going now. I'm really sick of it because days are just flying by. So I get up really early and I go to bed really late. I'm probably burning the candle at both ends, but I'm kind of getting used to that. So I won't go to bed till midnight now. Like I'll stay and I'll watch something on my phone just to make the most of the day, like just to get the most hours out of it. Because I'm just sick of how fast time. I'm 29 in 8 months' time. I just can't stand it. It's really, really annoying me how quick time's going. But from a band kind of thing, yeah, I agree. We have our nights that we have. As long as it's like after 8 o'clock, it's fine. Steph's completely fine with if we do something on a Saturday or whatever, as long as it's a bit of notice, because I've got to be thoughtful for her and Oscar, really. Because at the end of the day, he's a little person. He needs his parents around, and I need to make sure that I give Steph plenty of time and notice and things like that, just so she can work out what she needs to do with him for the day. She's going to go to her mum's, or or take him out for a walk, or take him out, or whatever. It's just things like that. So yeah, I just have to work around his kind of routine, and becoming a dad has made it sort of easier because I've got that 8 o'clock cut off, really, so I can kind of do stuff from 8 o'clock. So that's what, from personally me, finding the time with the band. But I agree with we have a structured day. Like, say, Wednesdays was our podcast night, Sundays was another night, and then all the other nights I'll do like training, or I'll spend a bit of time with Steph, or watch something on Netflix, whatever. It's just having a bit of structure.
Good man. Quick question on that, Sam, as well. Obviously, you are a dad to Oscar. Does being a musician as well, I mean, being a parent, is it a lot harder, would you say, to be a musician as well when you're a dad?
No, I'm not found it difficult, to be honest, only because Steph's so supportive. She was so gutted that all our gigs got cancelled this year, because it was just our little bit of savings and our little bit of holiday money, things like that. So she was so gutted that we all them gigs got cancelled, because it was just a little bit on the side for us. So yeah, I don't find it hard at all to be a musician while having a family, because I've just got a supportive partner. Luckily, I'm probably one of the few who's got a really supportive partner. So personally, no, I don't find it so difficult.
Cool. But your advice to musicians who might be in a similar boat, want to push the music, but they're going to be a dad or currently got kids, would you say, is that the same kind of points, that just have a structure?
Yeah. Have a structure, especially with the kid as well. I'm not a parenting expert, but we just found that Oscar in a structure is really helpful. He has the same bedtime routine every night, and he knows his routine now, and he knows it's bedtime at 8 o'clock, and then after 8, I'll do a bit of washing up, things like that, get ready for the evening ahead, really. And I think just try and find the routine as quick as you can with the kid, and then you work around to their routine. When the kid's first born, you'll probably find they're going to bed quite late, so you won't have much time. But as they're getting older, they'll go to bed a bit earlier and earlier. And then if they're sleeping through the night, Lewis, I hope to God that your kids sleep through the night. Honestly, mate.
I'm actually going to look my age in a couple of months, aren't I?
I really hope sleep, because Oscar's not slept through. He's nearly 2 and he's not slept through the night once. He wakes up at midnight and he cries because he just wants Steph all the time, because they're so close, them two. Really got a good bond, so he's always crying for us. So I pray to God that your kid sleeps, mate.
Yeah, how to be a drummer when you're half asleep and just like
but
drifting off.
It's all down to structure. Just get a structure in place.
Good man. So Lewis, obviously you're going to be a dad soon, and obviously what's your advice to people, that obviously got full-time careers? How do you find time to push your music and be consistent?
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm really cheating and stealing everyone's ideas, but it really is so true. So if we take a bit more of a bird's eye view, it's all about, like we said, structure is key. So, like, for example, same structure of everything, having the same bedtime every night and getting up at the same time is good for your body and your system and all your circadian rhythms and all your health. And, as a good example, put it this way, no one knows other than strict plans what our weeks hold, right? So if we say, what are you doing in 3 weeks? You'll go, right, well, the only thing I know for definite is that I'm going to be at work from 9 to 5 for 5 days or whatever you're doing. And then the rest you can fit around that. So say, for example, let's ignore lockdown, let's say you've got a normal social life. Let's say you and your partner go to the gym, or you take up dancing, or you go on bike rides, or anything that you've got as options. That they're the things that are concrete. So other than those hours, the rest of your week, theoretically, or your days are free. So as long as you establish, like the other guys said, right, okay, well, 5 days a week, I'm working from this time, and I've got to see my kids or my grandkids or whatever at this time. Well, then, let's say once you've put in day X as your day, or couple of days, depending on what you've got available, you can then plan every week, everything around that. So, you could then say, if your week is, you go to work and then you've said, right, okay, we'll use the Wednesday thing as well as my band night. After that point, you can then go for the following week when you're organising your week with the partners or whatever you're doing, or your kids or your grandkids. Well, I'm working these days. I've got band night on Wednesday and Friday or whatever it is, and you can fit everything in. So it's sort of like we've all said, really, you need a structure. You need to define what the things that you put in as concrete, and then everything else can fall around that. So, for example, let's say if you were babysitting one night, the next night you're out of the gym, the next night then you might only have one night a week for your band night, but you've already got those things in before your band stuff or your rehearsals that have taken place. So you fit the band in around that.
Yeah.
So as long as you establish what your structure is, what time you have available against your already set in stone commitments, that's probably the word I'm looking for, then you can factor it in. So it's easily possible. Everyone can find time to do things that they're passionate about. It's just making sure that you know what's already in place, or what isn't in place, put those things in, and then organize the things around that.
Good man. So it's thinking ahead, absolutely, which is good. Structure, yeah. I think we all agree with that. I think my opinion is, again, I echo you guys, be organised. That's the best way. If you look a week in advance, obviously, number one, for the year, hopefully you're going to know where your gigs are, and then you can sort of structure your rehearsals. I think in terms of consistency, especially if you're working, you're a parent, etc., you can still be consistent. You can still put loads of podcasts out. You can still put loads of videos out. But how do you do it? Yes, there are going to be times where you do videos that week or cover topics that are relevant to that week. But at the end of the day, there's no reason why you can't get together and do 4 podcasts one weekend. You know, or if you go into a recording studio and you record 10 videos, but then you hold all those videos back and then you drip feed them. So that way, you're still working hard. You're focusing on your career. You're doing your gigs as and when they come. And at the end of the day, you're still being consistent, because that's, if you're going to grow a fan base, you need to put out regular content, even if it's once a month, once a week. But it's not always going to be possible if you've got a busy, demanding job. So I think it's not necessarily working hard, it's about working smart. That's my opinion anyway. What do you think on that, guys?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate.
Yeah.
I think have your archive footage and things like that, upload it, set it private, and then when it's time to release it, then it's done, isn't it? Like you just say, I mean, bands have content released every, like, 90s. Okay, let's take 1975 for example. During the lockdown, they released, I think, like 5 live videos.
Yeah.
Or something. Just think they were probably uploaded to YouTube about 4 months ago, but they held it all back and drip fed it as the time went on, you know. So I think that's a pretty good example of, you know, archiving your stuff.
Definitely. Cool. But no, thanks, guys. It's been quite a good topic tonight, going through everything. No, we look forward to talking more soon.
Yeah, no, it's been a good fun. Thanks for being a good host.
Cheers, Ryan.
So thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe, leave us a comment, and we'll see you soon.